This video will show you how to assemble the Daedalus cube and also how to take it apart. Now this was a puzzle that was created and designed by Gregory Benedetti way back in 2011, and it was in wooden form at that point. And you can see all the parts here are constrained to run on these grooved tracks, and each one of the parts has pins in it. Required a lot of precision to make in wood. But there's a project on printables which allows you to create your own version of this in plastic using almost any type of 3D printer. There's 3 videos in this series, and this is the last video. The 2 previous ones you can see by just simply looking at my previous videos. All the files for printing this are on the printables.com site that's in the link here or in the link in the previous videos. Now, you may want someone else to actually assemble your cube once you create all the parts so you can have the joy of taking it apart. But be warned, this is not an easy puzzle to solve. Many have taken months. I, in fact, did not solve this myself because I had to put it together to create these types of videos. But let's go over the solution. So the first thing is the assembly. Here you can see the final assembled Daedalus cube and its holder, which you can get on the printable site. These are all the individual parts. The big frame is where you'll start. And you'll notice this frame is a little different than the wooden ones in that there are a couple magnets in there, and that was described in the previous video. It's a little different than the wooden version. Here's the very first part, and to insert, and I've inscribed it with a happy face. You don't see that on the outside of the cube, but it allows you to know the orientation of that first piece. It's going to go right in here. Now you'll notice with those pins it'll slide in. Now with this assembly you almost need 3 hands. Parts will slide pretty freely, so you'll increase your dexterity as you do this more times. So we're going to insert 2 pieces that go together, and often many have come up with solutions where they insert these 2 pieces together, but I like to insert them separately. If you put these 2 pieces together, they look like an exclamation point. So the part on the left has a pin which slides in this slot when the 2 are inserted, just like that. But let's put the bottom piece in together, the one with the dot at the end. And you'll find that will go and slide into a groove right by my thumb on the left-hand side. So it will go to the left and move downwards. The top piece, remember the correct orientation. The pin at the back will go in a groove there, and it will slide on top of the piece that you've just inserted. And also move down. So you have those 2 pieces in, and the happy face piece, which will tend to move back and forth. Now the next piece to insert has 2 pins on it, and you'll notice a U-shaped track on the frame. And those 2 pins slide right in there at about a 45-degree angle. From there you straighten it up, and this piece will move in and out if it's not obstructed. Now this piece here is going right in there, sort of to the middle of the cube. And you're going to put it in from the top on those 2 pins, and it's going to slide in with the help of those grooves. We'll see that in a second. So the track faces front. You have a pin facing you, and that's going to go into one of the grooves, and you're going to pull that part out that you've just inserted. And there's going to be a groove on the left-hand side to accept that part, and it's going to go down. Now, ideally, you want to push that as far in as it can go, but it's being stopped by this part on the left, which you have to raise. So if you raise this, you'll notice that little groove in that part. We're going to put that in, and that's going to go down and capture one of the pins on that part that you've just inserted. So you raise it, insert the part, and put that down. Now if you want to remove that piece or pull it out, again, you need to raise the left piece, pull it out, and put that piece down. Now this is what this looks like. You'll notice that part you inserted has a pin at the back. Now we're going to put one more part in, and this can be put in one and two ways in the wooden version, but you'll notice that there's a magnet in this version. So in the magnet, if you've put a magnet in yours and use that option, that magnet has to go on the left-hand side here to mate with a magnet on the frame. So you put this in very similar to the last piece. Put it down, move it over, pull that piece out. And it's just going to stay upright. Now you only have one more part to insert, but you do have some parts to reorient. So the first thing to do is that very first piece that you inserted, the one with the pin sticking out, has to be put in a different place. Now we'll show where that goes in a second here. So that piece in the middle there with the pin is going to be put right here at the bottom. Now to get that part in the proper position, we're going to put that piece you've just inserted, we're going to move that back out to allow a hole in there, and you'll see that that piece will slide out on its own. So that middle piece has slid out to the middle. Now if we look at it from this orientation, you'll see that piece has a pin on the top, and we're going to use the tall piece at the right hand side to slide over top of it. You'll see a little groove there, and then you're going to move all three of those pieces at once. It requires a little fiddling to get that piece over, but those three are going to slide over, and all three are going to slide down like that. So you've taken that piece out from the middle and put it into the edge. Now that piece doesn't go out, it doesn't go in at this point. I've just forgotten some of the steps. Now, one thing that has to happen is that this has to move in this orientation, but it has to go flat. And you'll notice there's a little pin here that's preventing that piece from lying flat against it. So to solve that, we rotate this cube here. We push it up a little bit, and at a certain point, it'll allow you to rotate it. So you can see it being rotated right there, so that there's a flat top. And that's going to come down, which means there's a pin at the end here, but we'll fix that before we finish. And that's going to lie down flat against it. We're now in a position where we can insert that last piece. So this is the position of the cube at this point. Now with this one, there's another embossing in it. You'll notice there's a little heart. That heart should be at the bottom and pointing towards you. The point will point towards you when you insert it. So this is the orientation of that part. And that part's the heart of the cube, and that's why you've got that embossing. Now that's going to go at the very top right there. So we're going to insert it down in, but to insert it, we have to insert it with the pin up, and then we have to rotate that part forward and then pull it up into its final position. So to put it in, that pin has to go in that groove and slide down. So you just sort of let it drop. Now the part on the left that it slid into is hooked into that part, and we have to get that separated. So we're going to move that little part we've just inserted a little bit to the right, underneath that part I've just lifted up. Now you can see the pin and the part on the left are separated. I can pull that part up now on the left hand side. Then I'm going to push that final part over to the right, and I'm just going to rest that piece on the left on the pin, and I've just put that alongside it on the right hand side. That piece goes down, so that's going to rest apart. Now the hard part is, how do I rotate that? Well, I pull it forward into the cavity a little bit, and it's going to start to rotate. And you can fiddle with this for a while till you find that right spot where it's going to rotate. And when you get it rotated, you'll see the flat piece on top, and then its final position, you're going to pull it up, but you have to now link that part on the left to a pin on that part you've just rotated. A way to do that again is to lift the part on the right up and slide that center piece underneath of it. And again, a little fiddly here. So I'm trying that piece that was under my thumb, I'm trying to slide that to the right underneath of it. Sometimes it slides easy, sometimes it gives you a bit of a pain. Now you can rotate that down and you can move that part into it. You can move the part on the right down, and you can either pull it up or you can stick your finger in the hole at the back. There, I'm losing my train of thought here. Nope, that's not how you do it. That does lay flat. So if I pull that up or help push it up, that's its final position right there. Now you have to move that in, and that will not move in if you haven't rotated that cube right there. That pin will prevent it from rotating in, as well as that piece that's sticking out. If that's going in a little bit, you won't be able to rotate it. So be aware, if that doesn't rotate up like that, you've got a part in the wrong position. If we move that piece inwards, it sort of keeps that little cube up. If you keep it out and don't put your finger there, it will drop down. So one of the final things is to rotate this end cube back to its final position right here. So we want to rotate that backwards. You'll notice the pin will be up, and now we have flat sides on the two sides of the cube that it needs. And I'm just sticking my finger in here. Now this is one of the final positions. And at this point, you have to move these in a very specific sequence. Big sigh as I've finally gotten to this position. We're going to move this just into there. We're not going to move it all the way in, just so it's flat. That's going to fall down. Then we're going to move that piece further in, and you'll see that will be the back wall. And now I can move those two pieces down, and we've solved our cube. And now for the disassembly video. Here we have a fully assembled Daedalus cube. I'm going to show you how to take it apart. You'll notice this little yellow piece is a bit of a disassembly aid. You'll see that in a second. So move the little holder off to the side. And because I've got magnets there, there are no pieces which are obvious that you start on. If you shake it, no pieces come loose. But as you move the sides of the cube, and here's the green, my first version, you'll notice if you shake it, it's obvious which two parts move up. So I like to put in a magnet to prevent that movement, force you to discover which pieces move up. And you'll notice these will move up very easily, but there is a magnet holding them down. So that's one piece that we can move up. Your finger in there to hold it. We've got a center piece that will move in and out there, but that's not the second piece which goes up. There we go, and you'll notice there's a little logo there. So those shows the first two pieces that need to get raised from the cube. Now, there's a centerpiece that you can push forward at this point, right in the back. And so right in the center there, you can push that forward. You keep these two up, and that will go right so it's flush with the front. And at that point, you can move another piece upwards. Now, this is hard to hold, so I've made this little assembly or disassembly aid so that you can sort of stick it in there, and it will keep the pieces in position so you can practice this position. Maybe from here, collapse the cube back to its original state, so you just want to practice getting into this position and then getting it back to its reset or fully assembled position. So that's a quick little print, and that's included in the STL files as a disassembly aid. Now we're going to take that piece right in the middle out first. We're going to push it down, we're going to flip it, and then we're going to pull it out. So with our fingers inserted into the middle, we'll try to keep all these in the same position. Now you'll notice we've cleared out the center of the cube, and that's important because we're going to need to rotate that one cube in the middle, and we need some room to do that. But the first thing we need to do before we do that is we're going to need to rotate that second little cube I pointed to. I want to move that down, and I can't because there's a pin on a piece down there. So we're going to move this up, and if you get it up into the right spot, it will rotate forward, and you'll get a flat spot on the top, and you'll have a pin on the bottom. And the part above it will now rotate. You've got enough room without that pin. That'll rotate out of the way. Now we can drop that cube down to the middle. Now we're going to lift that 2 cube part on the right hand side. We're going to lift it up because we can't rotate that cube yet. And that cube's going to be slid a little just under it to the right because there's a pin that it's hooking in with the part on the left. And again, a little fiddly, but you can see me pushing that underneath the part on the right. And now I can pull that part up and separate it from the middle piece. Now I'm going to put that part in the middle back to its original spot. And the piece on the left that I'm holding is just going to rest on one of the pins. Okay, it's too far over now. There we go. And we now need to rotate that part in the middle in a way where a pin is upward. So we'll see that in a second. And so I fiddle with this part to get it in the middle properly. There. Part on the left is going to rest on the pin, and we're just going to rotate that in that direction. So we need to pull it a little bit forward, a little bit that way, and then there'll be enough room to rotate it. Now it doesn't take much force to rotate it. You just got to find the actual right spot, and it's a little fiddly, so you just got to be patient. But you can see that this time I got it fairly quickly, and it's rotating. Right now, boom, the pin's up. That was pretty quick. Sometimes I fiddled with it for a minute or so. Now I need to get this part attached to that piece again. And so I need to move it a little bit under, down, and push it back so that pin attaches. I'll put the part on the right all the way down. And at this point, I can just pull this left-hand piece up, and that center piece will come out. And boom, we've taken out the heart of the cube. You'll see that a little embossed heart on my version. So that is the first and maybe the most difficult part to remove. From here, it's actually not too difficult to take apart the rest of the cube. We're going to put those two parts together and rotate the cube in this direction. Now, there's a piece there that needs to move forward, but you'll see that little piece there is hindering it. So we need to position or move that part into the middle. Just get it out of the way. So to do that, I need to first rotate it back to its original position. So rotate it in that direction so the pin is up. I'm going to rotate the cube back, and I'm going to use that piece where my fingers are to go over top of that little cube I'm going to relocate. And I'm going to move all three of them at once. So that's over top. I'm going to pull them up, over, and now that cube is in the middle. And all I now need to do is push that center cube forward. And there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do it with your fingers, or you can push in that part that's sticking out in front. But remember that piece on the left has to be up for it to move forward. So, and if your cube is oriented, it'll slide right back on you, but not like that. So again, a little fiddly, and it's hard underneath the camera because I have this tilted. But that cube is in a resting position there for now. Now we're going to collapse those two pieces. Put the pin in the slot, and we're going to rotate that cube this way carefully, keeping that piece in the middle and that part sticking out closest to you. Now, that's going to move forward now. These two should, I say should, no, there's something else we have to do first. That part that's sticking out closest to you has to be pushed all the way in. And the only way to push it in is to lift that piece on the left, push it in, and when it goes down, it will capture a pin on that center piece. So you can see I pull it up, I can move it out or in, and then push it down. And then at that point, this two pieces will move forward. Now the top piece moves forward, you move a little left, and that will just come out. Now that piece there can be taken out really in the same way. Now I have to lift up that piece on the left to pull that out and put that down. But then I can lift that and rotate it, go forward, and again to the left and up and out. Here we have our third piece out. This piece is fairly easy. You'll notice it slides back and it'll rotate in a 45-degree and just lift out. It was on two pins in a track there. Now these two pieces on the left, you can just slide them to the right. You should be able to figure out how to take those out. This is the top of that pair of pieces. And the bottom piece goes on a lower track. You don't put it quite as high. There's a little track there. And again, if you move it to the right, it'll just fall out. And finally, you're left with one piece in the frame, the happy face, and you can just slide that towards you. And there you have it. Complete assembly and disassembly instructions for the Daedalus cube. I hope you've enjoyed building your Daedalus cube and working with assembling and disassembling it.